Okay, welcome everybody to the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It is called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, and I'll tell you why it is called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga soon. And um, I'll go a little over um, the time limit because in the next 8 weeks we have to complete this long chapter with 78 shlokas. As usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. So, the organization of the Bhagavad Gita, everybody should be familiar with this, right? It's divided into 3 shatkams: Prathama Shatkam, Madhyama Shatkam, and Charama Shatkam. So, in the Charama Shatkam, the topics are Jivatma, Paramatma, Swarupa, Aikyam, oneness of this individual um, entity called Jivatma, and the Paramatma, that which pervades everything, what you call God. And Jnana Yoga, the nature of this consciousness, that is the Jnana. Then Satguna, or values to purify the mind. We saw Satgunas in chapter 16 and 17. We'll continue seeing some of them in this chapter. So this chapter it's a summary, it's like a summary. So chapter 2 is called Upakrama Sankshepa, which means introductory summary. Upakrama, introductory summary. The main message of the Gita is in 3 to 17. It is elaboration of chapter 2. That's the Bhagavad Gita. Then 18 is a Upasamhara Sankshepa. It is a concluding summary. Upasamhara, ending. Upasamhara Sankshepa. And this is how it's organized. So please pay close attention here. The first topic is sannyasa. And through sannyasa, if you remember, in chapter 2, Arjuna refuses to fight. He wants to run away and become a sannyasi. He says it is better to eat nachaitat vitma kataranno gariyah yatva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu. I do not wish to fight. I don't know which is better, whether they winning us or us winning. And he says it's better to eat alms, beg and get food like a sannyasi than to kill these people in battle. Rudira Pradigdan, it's tainted with their blood. So, sannyasa, that is when Bhagavan talks about karma yoga. So, in chapter 2, he talks about jnana yoga, then he goes into karma yoga, and he says you have to perform actions, but without looking for the fruits of actions. And sannyasa is the 4th chapter. So, here in this shlokas 1 to 12, he is giving a summary of the 3rd and the 4th chapters. 3rd chapter is karma yoga, if you remember. And can anybody say the name of the 4th chapter? Anybody? What's the name of the 4th chapter?
Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga.
Yes, very good. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. It's also called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So Jnana Karma, through our, it's called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga because it is the renunciation of actions with the right knowledge. Jnana Karma Sannyasa. So here he is telling, again concluding that renunciation is true renunciation, not donning a saffron robe and going away and not doing your duties. So real renunciation is acting in the middle of the world without hankering for the fruits of action. Fruits. Then he talks about Atma Swarupam, the nature of the real self, that is the Jnana Yoga. So Remember, Karma Yoga is like elementary school, Jnana Yoga is like high school, and then you graduate into moksha. So you have to go through both stages. So Bhagavan then talks about Atma Swarupam in Shlokas 13 through 17. And then he analyzes 6 topics. This is Sadguna. 6 topics: Jnanam, Karma, Karta, Buddhi, that is intellect. Jnanam is knowledge, karma is action, karta is the doer, buddhi is the intellect, dhriti is willpower, and sukham is happiness. So this takes up a big chunk of this chapter, 18 through 40. Then Bhagavan again gives a summary of karma yoga, jnana yoga, and also bhakti in shlokas 41 through 66. Then upasamhara, he concludes 67 to 78. Towards the end, Sanjaya comes and glorifies. The last 4-5 shlokas, Sanjaya talks. So that is how it is organized. Now, I told you, why is this called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga? Now, this chapter is about sannyasa. He starts with sannyasa. Usually, when a chapter starts with a certain topic, it's given that name. So, Chapter 18 cannot be called Sannyasa Yoga because Chapter 5 is called Sannyasa Yoga. Or with a little detail, it's also called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Now, Karma Sannyasa means renunciation of karma. So obviously, 18 cannot be called Karma Sannyasa or Sannyasa Yoga. It is therefore called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, renunciation. So Karma Sannyasa is renunciation of karma. What is moksha sannyasa? Can anybody say? Karma sannyasa is renunciation of karma. What is moksha sannyasa? Anybody take a guess? Ravi, Jayalakshmi ji?
I guess one having obtained moksha.
One having what? Yeah?
One having attained moksha.
One having attained? No. This is for people like us. We've not attained moksha.
Maybe seekers of moksha.
Yeah, so karma sannyasa is renunciation of karma phala. Moksha sannyasa is renunciation for the sake of moksha. So renunciation for the ultimate goal. Okay, so you shouldn't say moksha sannyasa is renunciation of moksha. No, it's a very subtle point. Moksha sannyasa is renunciation for the sake of moksha. Sannyasa is renunciation, moksha is liberation. Renunciation for the highest goal, that is liberation. That's why it's given this grand title, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Understood, everybody? So we'll look in the first part, Sannyasa, renunciation, shlokas 1 through 12. So again, Arjuna, after being told so much, again he asks his favorite question. Arjuna wants to run away from the battlefield. So again and again, he keeps asking the same question. Arjuna uvacha sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichami veditum tyagasya cha hrishikesha pritakeshi nishudhana. Arjuna said, sannyasasya mahabaho, oh, mighty armed, Hrishikesha. Hrishikesha means Lord of the senses. So he's addressing Krishna as the one, the supreme Lord who is control of all the senses. And he's giving 2 names. See here, he's calling him Hrishika Isha, Lord of Hrishika, senses. And he's also calling him Keshi Nishudana, a demon called Keshi. He's a destroyer of Keshi. Oh, mighty Maha, and also one more, Mahabaho, oh, mighty armed, Rishikesha, the destroyer of Keshi. Tattvam Ichami Veditum. I wish to know, Ichami, I desire to know, Veditum, Pritak, very distinctly. I desire to know distinctly what sannyasa tattvam, then true nature of sannyasa, tyagasya cha, and also of tyaga, the true nature of sannyasa and tyaga. I wish to distinctly know the difference between sannyasa and tyaga. Okay, so he's heard sannyasa, they've talked about tyaga also. Um, he's now he still has this desire, and in spite of so many chapters of clear teaching, and the two coming from Sakshat Narayana himself, Arjuna manages to have questions and doubts. And he raises this again and again in the third chapter. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani gore mam niyojayasi keshava. So the first shloka of the third chapter, he says, if you consider knowledge to be better, why are you asking me to do this terrible deed? I want to run away. That is every time, that's what he is trying to get at. And then in the fifth chapter also, again, and in the third chapter, he says, he tells Bhagavan that you're confusing me by seemingly contradicting words. You confuse my mind. Vyamishrenaiva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me tadekam vada nishchitya ena shreyoham apnuyam. So tell me this conclusively, which is better. Okay. And then he, in the fifth chapter also, Krishna, you're confusing me. You praise renunciation of actions and also karma yoga. You tell renounce actions, but you tell me to do karma yoga. Tell me definitively which of these two is better. So, sannyasam karmanam Krishna punartyogam cha samshasi yachreyaetayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. So again and again he is asking the same question. So Bhagavan is, so what the reason why this is included is that it's a poem, right? So it is to show that knowledge is not easy. One has to work towards it. It involves elaborate dialogue. One cannot give knowledge just like that. Renunciation is one topic which has been bugging Arjuna's mind. Arjuna has special interest in sannyasa because he wants to run away from the battlefield, not because he's a coward, but because he cannot bear the thought of seeing his teacher and his grandfather dead. Swamiji says that everybody has interest in sannyasa at certain moments in their lives, when life has a lot of problems. Many times we go, he says people come to him with questions, but when Swamiji gives answers, most people come only to get their point of view validated by Swamiji. It is more for validation rather than clarification. If Swamiji says something else, then they won't like it, apparently. Similarly, Arjuna is in exactly the same mindset. That's why Krishna, he sees through all this. So he gives a new definition of sannyasa, which is totally different from the traditional, conventional definition. So that we will see. So this entire thing, reminder, it's about karma yoga. Krishna gives a new definition of sannyasa. What is sannyasa? Traditional definition of sannyasa, sannyasis are people who don on the saffron robe. They give up all their possessions and they just live off what society offers. That is traditional definition of sannyasa. It's a monastic life. This is talked about in the scriptures. It is called ashrama sannyasa or bhaida sannyasa. Ashrama, it's one ashram like brahmacharya, grihastha, householder, student, like that. This is an ashrama. Arjuna wanted this sannyasa so he can get out of the war. Now Krishna gives an alternative definition of sannyasa. He says karma yoga with the renunciation of our ragadvesha, likes and dislikes, is the real sannyasa. Krishna has given this definition in 6.1 and 6.2. There he preemptively he understood Arjuna's motive, and he says, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. That person who gives up the fruits of action is both the sannyasi and the yogi. Yogi means karma yogi, not one who's um, without a fire and who doesn't perform actions. So in those days, sannyasis, they don't do yajna, because yajna is for um, getting some benefits. So they do the fire. Before fire, they sit, chant mantras. So it says, not one without a fire. Yam sanyasamiti prahuhu yogam tam vitti pandava. What is called sannyasa is also called yoga. So now he's going to say sannyasa and tyaga are one and the same. Okay. In the second and third shlokas, Krishna gives the opinion of sages and scholars. It is not Bhagavan's point of view. Krishna's, it's scholarly definitions of sannyasa and yoga he's going to say. So let's listen to what the scholarly definitions is. Shri Bhagavan uvacha kambyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma palatyagam prahustyagam vichakshana. Okay. Kavayaha, Kavi means, Kavi is not a poet. Kavi means omniscient sages. Kavayaha, these Kavayaha, Viduhu, or they know or they regard, Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam. That is the renunciation of Nyasam. Nyasam means total renunciation. Nyasam, renunciation of Kamyanam Karmana, which is compulsive desire-born actions. Sanya as sannyasa. Sannyasam kavayo viduhu. The wise omniscient sages know the renunciation of compulsive desire-born actions as sannyasa. And then the wise also, vichakshana is the wise. By the wise also declare sarva karma palatyagam, all fruits of all actions to be tyaga. So both these have some element of truth in this, but Bhagavan doesn't like this, because if he says renunciation of compulsive desire-born actions as sannyasa, Arjuna will immediately flee the battlefield. So he'll say all actions, all these are compulsive desire-born because I want a kingdom, so I want to run away. And then the wise also declare the fruits of all actions to be tyaga. So Bhagavan, both these are true, but Bhagavan doesn't like this. So he's going to give a definition for the lay person. This is the traditional definition for the erudite who understand the subtlety, but Bhagavan is now going to simplify. So before that, we have to look at the 5 kinds of karmas, because this is all about karma pala tyagam. So what are the 5 types of karmas enunciated in the scriptures? Vihita or nitya karma, compulsory duties like raising children with with 2 different motives. One motive is that children will compensate when I'm old. Other motive is just doing for the sake of doing it. Then kamya karma or sakama karma, optional activities driven by desire, to be taken if one wants to, neither prohibited nor encouraged. Then nishiddha karma, this is prohibited. Then prayaschitta karma, remedial activities, an action done to remedy a nishiddha karma, an improper activity. So prayaschitta karma is a remedial activity. Then naimittika karma, occasional duties when the situation arises. Now, giving up 2, 3, and 4 is sannyasa. 1 and 5 are mandatory. Giving up the fruits of even 1 and 5, the compulsory duties, is tyaga. Okay, so this is how Bhagavan is going to address sannyasa and tyaga, And he will say both are one and the same. And this is all not his viewpoint. He just says this is what the wise people in the scriptures is said by the wise people. Tyajyam doshavadit eke karma prahur manishinaha yajna dana tapa karma natyajam iti chapare. Tyajyam doshavadit eka. Some philosophers declare that all actions, duties, should be renounced as faulty. Tyajyam, that is renounced. Doshavat iti eke. So doshavat iti means as faulty. Dosha means a fault, a defect. Eke karma, eke all actions. Doshavat iti eke, all eke karma means all actions should be renounced as faulty. Karma prahur manishinaha means philosophers here. Yajna dana tapa karma natyajam iti chapare. Others, apare means others, they declare yajna, the yajna is worship done without personal desires, dana, charity, and tapaha, austerity. This is what Bhagavan talked about in the previous chapter. The 4 voluntary topics. Remember, food is not including, because food is just a right way of eating, so you maintain your sattvic nature. So yajna, charity, yajna, dana, and tapaha should not be renounced, others say. Okay, this is what wise people say. Now, Bhagavan is going to talk about he's going to give his verdict, but before that, there's a debate on nitya and naimittika karma. So the compulsory duties and occasional duties when the situation arises. What do you do about that? In the previous verse, it was pointed out that these 3 types of karma are to be renounced: the kamya karma, nishiddha karma, and prayaschitta karma. If you don't do nishiddha karma, there's no need to do prayaschitta karma. Here, karma, karma literally means action, right? But here you have to interpret karma as duty, not as pure action. We still need to perform actions for body maintenance. So some scholars say karma tyajam, any karma is to be given up. Doshavatiteke, because karmas are the duties come with stress and strain. Duty means worry. Doshavat, it means full of doshas, means stress and strain. What it means is that do not take on fresh duties is the meaning. It does not say abandon them in the middle. Okay, so you have to interpret it very carefully. Otherwise, you can give up child raising. You have a child and you give up and say, okay, it's full of headaches, I'll give up. No, then you're doing a papam. The other group says yajna, dana, and tapaha should also be renounced because it is full. Anytime you do a duty, it has worries and that will disturb your mind. So this is the first group says sannyasa is abandoning all duties. Second group says sannyasa is abandoning only some duties. This are 2 points of view. And now Swamiji tells this. If you don't understand all this, it is okay, because these are not Bhagavan's views. Now Bhagavan will tell his own view. Okay, so far is it clear, everybody? So everybody has their videos off, so I don't know what people are thinking. Any questions so far? Ravi, Anuji, Jayalakshmiji, Lataji?
I'm good, Ganesh.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
no,
these are the
we're good.
two viewpoints. Now Bhagavan gives his verdict. Nishchayam shrunu me tatra tyage bharata sattama tyago hi purusha vyagra trivida samprakirtitaha. Nishchayam, listen to my verdict. Shrunu me tatra, therein. Listen to my verdict therein about tyaga, abandonment. Oh, best of the Bharatas. and he calls him Purusha Vyagra of people. Tiger, Vyagra is tiger. Oh, tiger among men. Tyaga has been declared to be of three kinds. Tyago hi Purusha Vyagra Trivida Samprakirtitaha. Samprakirtitaha means declared. So, Purusha, Bharata Sattama. Sat means a noble person. Sattama is the superlative degree. Tatra Tattamaha. That, Tattara, there, and Tattamaha, superlative. So, noble, nobler, and the noblest among men. So, like that, Bharata Sattamaha, that is the noblest of them, the superlative degree. Noble, nobler, and noblest. Krishna's verdict on Tyaga and Sannyasa. It is an implied verdict. There is no difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa. Krishna disagrees with the previous two groups because they differentiated between Tyaga and Sannyasa. And Krishna here says renunciation of karma is Sannyasa. Or they said renunciation of karma, Sannyasa, renunciation of karma, phala is Tyaga. So Krishna disagrees with them and he says they're both one and the same. So Shlokas 5 and 6 are very important for that reason. Yajna dhana tapa karma natyajam karyam eva tat yajnyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Yajna, dhana, and tapaha should not be abandoned but should be performed. Natyajam karyameva. You have to do it. Yajna, dana, and tapaha. Yajna, dana, tapa, pavanani manishinam. They are the purifiers. Pavanani manishinam. Purifiers of the voice. Okay. And then, so why is Krishna giving a modified definition of sannyasa? So it's kind of implied. Yajna, dana, and tapa. You have to perform, and they're the purifiers of the voice. Why is Krishna giving a modified definition? Teaching of sannyasa will depend on the audience. The scriptures divide the entire humanity into two people: those with jnana yogyata, a mature mind which can take to a life without a relationship. This is a very tiny portion. Most of us, we don't have a mature mind, but we have an emotional mind. Emotional mind generally looks for relationships, and the health of the emotional mind depends on the health of that relationship. We want associations. We want to be known as, okay, the CEO of a company, as a well-known businessman, that is successful. That is what a immature mind wants. So, and Dayananda Saraswati, Swami Paramathananda Saraswati's guru, before he took to sannyasa, he went to Himalayas and met so many sannyasis. He expressed his desire to become a sannyasi, and most of the sannyasis, they strongly advised him against taking sannyasa. We did this mistake, and we are like a monkey who lost the tail. Kindly do not commit the mistake. So it's only for a few people, because once you go into sannyasa, there's no coming back. So, again, why does Krishna give a modified definition? To accept sannyasa, you require a certain mature mind. Therefore, the traditional will talk about sannyasa only after making sure the person is ready. That is why in the Upanishads alone, the real sannyasa is talked about. Krishna is addressing the majority, not the minority with a mature mind. Therefore, the following definition of sannyasa is keeping with the majority of humanity, which is not mature in the mind. So Upanishads are meant for the erudite. Krishna Gita is a simplified form for the common lay person. If the person is not ready and the majority of humanity is not ready, then the definition has to change. So Shankaracharya adds a note here, which Krishna wants to avoid, but Shankaracharya adds a footnote. He says, you are allowed to renounce all these three after jnana yogyata praptihi. That is, even yajna dana tapa karma, as a true sannyasi, even that you renounce. But when after attaining knowledge. So both those groups are correct. The tyagam means you renounce the fruits of actions and renounce all actions, yajna, dana, tapa, even that, but after getting the maturity. So, okay, now Bhagavan, 5th and 6th shlokas are very important, as I said. So, Bhagavan continues, Etan yapitu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani ti me pata nishchitam matam uttamam. But he says, even these actions, that is, yajna, dana, tapaha, should be performed, giving up the attachment to the fruits. This is my certain and best belief. Do all these actions, but give up the fruits. Unlike the first group that says, give up all actions, second group that says, um, do these yajna, dana, and tapaha, you have to do. So remember the two groups of people. One group said, one group wanted to, the first group says that sannyasa is abandoning all duties. Then the second group says sannyasa, tyaga is removing certain karmas. So Bhagavan here, he goes and says, no, they're both one and the same. And here he says, you have to just perform all these actions, but renounce the fruits of the actions. This is my best and certain belief. Too, but etan karmani, even these actions, kartavyani, should be performed. Sangam cha phalani tyaktva, giving up attachment and the fruits. Itime nishchitam uttamam matam. This is my certain and best, this is certain and best belief. Nishchitam, certain. Uttamam, best, great, supreme belief. Oh, Bharata, oh, Partha. Okay, so Shankaracharya tells in Viveka Chudamani, Swamiji says, being born a human being requires a punyam, and developing interest in spirituality requires even greater punyam, and having a conducive atmosphere to fulfill your spiritual urge requires tremendous punyam. You may be in a city where roads are fine, everything is provided, but everywhere you go, you do not have an opportunity to study this. Therefore, you may do yajna, dana, and tapaha karma. Iti nishchitam matam. This is considered my greatest, my verdict. So you may be in a very nice place, but there's no spirituality available. That is because to get this knowledge, you've done a lot of punyam or merit in your previous lives. Niyatasya tu sanyasaha karpano nopapadyate mohatasya parityagaha tamasa parikirtitaha. So he's now summarizing the 3rd and the 4th chapters. But the abandonment of obligatory duties is not proper. He is just telling, if you are raising a child, go through with that, but leave the fruits of this of the actions. The abandonment of obligatory duties out of ignorance is tamasic abandonment. So the 3 types of sannyas, tu, okay. So tu, niyatasya karmanaha sanyasaha, tu, but the abandonment of obligatory duties. Niyatasya karma sannyasa karmanaha. So niyatasya, obligatory duties, sanyasaha, abandonment. Niyatasya karmanaha sanyasaha, abandonment of obligatory duties. Na upapadyate is not proper. Na upapadyate means upapadyate is proper. Na upapadyate is not proper. Tasya parityagaha, abandonment of those. Tasya parityagaha, abandonment of those. Mohat, out of ignorance. Tamasa parikirtitaha is declared as tamasic. So the three types of sannyasa Krishna has talked about: Sattvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa sannyasa. All these are from the standpoint of a person who is not ready. Krishna is keeping in mind an unprepared person and giving this teaching. Normally, in the 17th chapter, we saw the order is Sattvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa. Now, Krishna reverses the order and he first talks about Tamasic sannyasa. Is it clear? And then Bhagavan talks about Rajasic sannyasa. Dukkam ityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajit sakritva rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga palam labet. One who from fear of bodily trouble abandons action because it is painful, performs rajasic abandonment. They do not get the benefit of abandonment. So the second type of person is also an unprepared student. That student requires sattvic karma. But what does that person do? That person renounces the sattvic karma. What is the reason for the renunciations? It is not ignorance. Krishna here says it is because of the attachment to the body, because of bodily discomfort. They do not want to strain the body. They want to lead a comfortable life. Dukkam ityeva yat karma, for fear of bodily trouble. Kaya klesha, because it is painful. Kaya is body. Klesha, it's painful. Tyajet, one who abandons these important duties. Sa rajasam tyagam kritva, having performed, they perform rajasic tyagam, rajasic abandonment. Naiva tyaga phalam labe, they do not get the benefit of abandonment. Is it clear so far? Karyam ityeva yat karma niyatam kriyaterchuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyaga satviko mataha. So previously in the 17th chapter, Bhagavan talks about first sattvika, then rajasic, then tamasic. Now he reverses the order and he starts with tamasic, then rajasic, and now finally sattvic. So sattvic sannyasa. So karyam ityeva yat karma. Karyam ityeva means whatever obligatory work, for duty, for the sake of doing. Niyatam karma, so it's ought to be done. Niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva, abandoning attachment, sangam attachment tyaktva, phalam chaiva, and also the fruit. That abandonment is considered sattvic. Whereas a sattvic person is one who knows that I am not yet prepared. This is very important because I should very clearly know where I stand, because the person, the scriptures talk about various sadhanas for students of different levels. The sattvic person knows that what that person wants finally is moksha. Moksha requires jnanam. Jnanam requires chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi requires sattvika karmani. I want moksha. Moksha requires self-knowledge. Self-knowledge requires purity of mind. Purity of mind requires sattvic karmas. This clarity this person has. This person is not ready. Still, Bhagavan is addressing unprepared students, but this person has the clarity of the mind. This person, he or she, does not suffer from the problem of ignorance. He or she has the knowledge. Even if they have the knowledge, if they are attached to the body, they are lazy, then they will not do the sattvic karmas. But this person, he knows physical, he or she knows physical karmas involve physical strain, and they would know, they would not call it a strain because they see it as a necessity. So is it clear, the three distinctions? The first, the ignorant person, then the person who's so attached to the body that they don't want to have the discipline, and the third person, they know that they are not ready, but they are willing to do the sattvic karma, because sattvic karma requires, will result in chitta shuddhi. That's why ahara, the kind of food that you eat, to purify the mind. And chitta shuddhi will result in self-knowledge. Self-knowledge will result in moksha. The important corollary of 18.9, this shloka, is that Krishna has defined sattvika sannyasa as performing karma without being concerned about the material benefit. This is the same definition he gave for karma yoga in chapters 2 and 3. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. First definition of yoga: remaining steady in yoga, perform actions, abandoning attachment, or dhananjaya, remaining the same in success and failure, not the fruits. Remember the 2 points he talks about? Abandoning attachment, abandoning fruits. Exactly the same. So this chapter is a recap. Remaining the same in success and failure means what? Fruits of actions, abandoning attachment. Exactly the same thing he says here. Okay. Sattvika Rajasa Tamas Sannyasa is the same as Sattvika Rajasika Tamasika Tyaga, because in Krishna's vocabulary, sannyasa and tyaga are synonymous. The peculiar thing we find is Krishna has presented Karma Yoga of the second and third chapter now as Sattvika Sannyasa. So he has done a little bit of mischief. So he is called, are you clear? So there's a lot of things you have to do the connections. So Ravi, Anuji, Lakshmiji, Jayalakshmiji, Lataji, Georgia, all of you, please note this here. So Bhagavan plays a lot of mischiefs. So Swamiji says he is giving the old wine in a new bottle. It's a saying. So in the second and third chapter, he's talked about Karma Yoga. Now this he's talking about Sattvika actions. So now Bhagavan, Sattvika Rajasa Tamasika Sannyasa is talked about, right? Now the Sattvika Sannyasa is the same as Karma Yoga. Okay, so he has presented Karma Yoga of the second and the third chapter as Sattvika Sannyasa, because he is calling it Sattvika Sannyasa. That's the same as Karma Yoga. So Bhagavan plays all these tricks. So the important corollary: renouncing all actions in me with a mind focused on the higher self, without expectation, mindness, and anxiety, may you fight. He is told that in 3.30. Mai karpani mai sarvani karpani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva ityasva vigatachvaraha. Renouncing all actions in me with a mind focused on the higher self, fight. So he wants Arjuna to fight. So Krishna wants Arjuna to take to Karma Yoga. Arjuna is refusing. Therefore now Krishna is presenting the same Karma Yoga as Sattvika Sannyasa. Do you see the difference? Previously, when Krishna was saying perform actions, do Karma Yoga, Arjuna was resenting. He said, I want Sattvika, I want Sannyasa. Ravi, do you get the point? Now, do you get it?
Yep.
Now he's saying, do sannyasa, but he's calling this Sattvika Sannyasa. So Bhagavan is, because Arjuna is a lay person, so he's presenting the same Karma Yoga as Sattvika Sannyasa. Therefore, Krishna is presenting this in this way. Okay, so Karma Yogi is as good as a sannyasi. Again and again, previously he has said, he's again saying the same thing. Figuratively, that person is a sannyasi, like the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A lot of them, he's doing all the actions, but he's completely renounced like a sannyasi. Figuratively, that person is a sannyasi only, because whatever peace of mind a monk enjoys, the very same peace of mind this karma yogi will enjoy. Because even though the person has so many outward responsibilities, he or she is willing to accept the future as Ishvara Prasada. Okay. So verses 10, 11, and 12 Sattvika Sannyasa Mahima, or the Karma Yoga Mahima, the glory of the Sattvic renunciation, which we shall take up in the next class. So that will the last portion of the Karma Yoga summary.